Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulihi Sayyidina Muhammadin. Sayyidina wa sanadina wa habibina wa shafi'ina wa maulana. Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa azwajihi wa dhurriyatihi wa ahli baytihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. أما بعد فقد قال الله عز وجل في كتابه الكريم إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم. Alhamdulillah, all praises to Allah, all praises to Allah, all praises to Allah, and may His peace and blessings be upon His servant and messenger, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, our Lord and Master, our beloved one, the one who will intercede for us on the Day of Judgment. May the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon him and his companions and his wives and upon his family and upon his progeny and upon all of those who follow their way until the Day of Judgment. Alhamdulillah, first of all, Qari Noman has over-introduced me, and if any of the actual mashayikh hear that, I'm going to get yelled at. I'm not a master, and the actual masters in Maliki fiqh will get upset, the actual masters in Hanbali fiqh will get upset, the actual masters in Shafi'i fiqh will get upset. It is true that I went and studied in different places, but alhamdulillah, by the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the process of learning never ends until you die. I'm not saying this out of any humility, but out of a genuine fear that this is being recorded and someone else will hear it and yell at me later on. Alhamdulillah, Allah ta'ala said in His book, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً, right? The brothers and sisters, the believers are nothing but brothers and sisters. The believers are nothing but brothers and sisters. Now I know you're looking right next to you and saying, oh my God, this guy next to me is actually my brother. Yes, actually your brother. It doesn't matter what color they are, if they're rich or poor, what country they're from, what they smell like, whatnot. This is something that everybody knows, that your brotherhood and sisterhood is more real than the brotherhood and sisterhood of people with blood bonds. The reason it's more real than that is that the brotherhood and sisterhood starts in this dunya and it doesn't end ever. Whereas the brotherhood and the sisterhood of the people of the dunya, the Day of Judgment, it will be finished. It'll end. It will finish. A person is a mu'min and his brother is not a mu'min. That person, the day that they die, the ta'alluq finishes, the connection finishes. Right? A kafir does not inherit from a Muslim, and a Muslim does not inherit from a kafir for that reason. For that reason. In the Day of Judgment, nobody who is not a person of Iman will recognize or admit to their brotherhood or sisterhood with any other person except for the people of Iman. Except for the people of Iman. The analogy of the Muslims being a family, the analogy of the believers being a family extends even beyond this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, He says, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam ajma'in. We got the Hifz students, so you guys can correct me because I'm not a Hafiz. He says, النبي أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم وأزواجه أمهاتهم. That the Nabi has more right to the believers than they have over themselves. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has more right to the believers than they have over themselves, and his wives are like their mothers. His wives are not like, it doesn't say like their mothers, his wives are their mothers. Right? That's why we say about the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Ummahatul Mu'mineen. Al-Mu'mineen, Sayyidah Aisha radiyallahu anha. Al-Mu'mineen, Sayyidah Hafsa radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Al-Mu'mineen, Sayyidah Zainab radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Ila akhirihinna, alayhinna ridwanullahi ta'ala ajma'in. Or I should say Juma'a. But the wives of the believers are literally the mothers. The wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam are literally the mothers of the believers. We address them as the mothers of the believers. And even in the ahkam, they are like the mothers of the believers in the sense that no Muslim is allowed to marry them after the Prophet ﷺ passes away, just like no man has the right to marry the wife of his mother, wife of his father, even though it's not his mother. And such a thing would be an enormity and would be a disgusting thing in the sight of most normal people. Allah Ta'ala also says in the Quran, right, Millata abikum Ibrahim, that this is the millah of your father Ibrahim. Now you may be saying, okay, some of you may be the awlad of Bani Adnan, the children of Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. Right? Qari Noman, he probably hasn't told you, but he's a Sayyid, he's a Sharif from the Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So he can say, yes, Sayyidina Ibrahim is my great-great-great-grandfather, alayhi salam. But people like myself, and people like I suspect more than half of the people in the audience, and a majority of the people in the world, to whom Islam is the khitab of Islam is toward all of us. They can say, this is not our father. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam is not our father. So yes, he is your father. The insinuation of the Quran being that the Prophet ﷺ is, it's not apt that you can call him your father. Rather, he has more right over you than your father has. And his wives are like your mothers. And his father also, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, is like your forefather too. He's your spiritual father. His fatherness, it will last forever in Jannah. It will last forever in Jannah. There is no chance that it could be cut off. There's a chance that our blood fathers, it might be cut off, but there's no chance that our father, the Prophet ﷺ, and our father, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, their fatherhood should be cut off from us. In the Athar, it comes that the Prophet ﷺ literally says that a person who is your teacher is like your father. And the Nabi ﷺ said in a hadith, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ مُعَلِّمًا. So I was sent as nothing other than as a teacher. So he's your father from that wajh, from that side, from that angle also. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And so you see that the family of the believers is quite literally a family. It's a family that's more real than what you think and what I think is our real family. It's more real and more immediate, and it will last more forever. That's why the thing with family is you don't have to like them, you have to love them. That's fine. So-and-so person may annoy you in the masjid, they may irritate you. You may look next to you and say, this guy's my brother. But that's how it is in real life. Sometimes your blood brother is like that also. And that's how it is in Islam. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. So rectify the relations between two brothers. Rectify the relations between two brothers. Keep good relations between two brothers. So the idea of social networking is not an idea that was invented with the invention of the internet or with the invention of Facebook or with Twitter. It's something that's as ancient as human society is. And much like with other things that Islam puts forward, Islam, it's not that it's the only medium of social networking or the only medium of having a moral frame of reference to see the world. It's not like it's the only medium that shows you how to live and keep good family relations and worship your Lord, etc., etc. But one of the unique things about everything that Islam puts forward in terms of different parts of the way of life a person lives, is what Islam puts forward is always A, simple, and B, it has barakah in it. A, it's simple, and B, it has barakah in it. What is barakah? Barakah is two people receive $500, right? Qari Noman is feeling very generous, so he cuts $500 check to one person, cuts $500 check to another person. Qari Sahib can give you $500. It's possible, it's in the realm. You can imagine that he has $1,000, right? If not, then the board needs to pay him more. You can imagine one day, maybe not today, he may be broke today, but one day if he saves up and works hard and whatnot, lives the American dream, he'll have the $1,000. He can give you $500. Qari Noman can do that. So one of the people takes his $500, gets in the car, and he says, I don't know what do people do in the Midwest. I'm gonna go to Walmart and buy a new hunting rifle. For hunting, right? So people in the Midwest do that. We're Americans here, right? It's America. Speak American. Yeah, mashallah, you got that, right? So, he goes in the car, and on the way over to the Walmart, he gets pulled over by a cop, and he gets a ticket for his tabs being expired, and that's it, $500 is gone. The other person, he goes to the Walmart, and he goes and not only buys a hunting rifle, he is in line, and the lights start going, and he's the 500th customer today or whatever, the millionth customer, and they give him $10,000 spending spree, right? What's the difference between the two of them? One has barakah in it, one didn't. One of them, the money is absolutely wasted on something that doesn't even benefit you at all. In fact, it works against you. The other one, Allah Ta'ala made it multiply more and more and more. Qari Noman can give you $500, but Qari Noman can't give you barakah. Allah Ta'ala is the only one who can put barakah in something. So one of the things about the deen is that although it's outwardly deceptively simple, but the amount of barakah that's in the things that Allah Ta'ala gives to us through the deen, the amount of barakah, the amount of blessings that are in those things, it's something that is unquantifiable. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. So the same is true for social networking in Islam. What is the social networking of Islam? It's overly simple. What is the social networking of Islam? The social networking of Islam is that when a person comes and says the Shahada of La ilaha illallah, he does it in the masjid in front of everybody. And from that day until the day he dies, he tries to come to the masjid 5 times a day for prayer. Now, I was born in America and I grew up in America. I know how it is. People think that praying 5 times a day in a congregation is something that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum used to do. But now we're in America and it's different. That time is done. Until Yawm al-Qiyamah, no one's going to do it anymore except for someone who doesn't have a job and has nothing better to do. Is that true? Who here has lived in a Muslim country before and knows? Is that true? No, it's not true at all. There are still people, there are millions of people and hundreds of millions of people all around the world to this day. They pray, not only do they pray 5 times a day, but where do they pray 5 times a day? At home? No, they pray 5 times a day in the Jamaat with the Masjid, in the Jama'ah and congregation, in the Masjid. Now the commandments of Islam are so many that make sense when you think about that. The commandment of Islam to visit someone who's sick. How are you going to visit somebody who's sick? Does someone take out an ad and the ad is running on NPR and the ad is running on NBC and the ad is like a whatever Twitter update goes out that so-and-so is sick and so you should go visit them? If a person is overly narcissistic, they might have the Twitter account and like say that I'm sick. But generally speaking, there's no advertisement. Like normal people don't advertise when they're sick. How are you supposed to know that somebody is sick? People say all the time, there's so many things, subhanAllah al-azim. People say, in Islam, free mixing is banned. It's haram. It's haram for a non-mahram man and non-mahram woman to freely mix with one another, whether in public or in private, and speak to each other about things that are not necessary, not necessities. Someone say, well, if I adhere to that, how am I supposed to get married? This is a good question. How are you supposed to get married? The way you're supposed to get married is that if you come to the masjid, that person's brother, husband, cousin, someone or another who's in charge or has some sort of relation or some sort of legitimate tie to that person will also come to the masjid. You'll find each other, meet each other, and that's how your match will come together. How is a person supposed to do any number of things? How is a person supposed to have any knowledge about what else is going on in the community? Who is doing what? How is a person supposed to learn their deen? How is a person supposed to do any of these things if they're not going to come to the masjid 5 times a day? How are they supposed to do it? It's absolutely impossible. Praying in the masjid, and this is something Susi said, look at this guy. He came from Seattle, and he's going to come and tell us that we should pray in the masjid 5 times a day. I already knew it. But how come it's not happening? How come it's not happening? Why? If you're going to live 20 miles away from the masjid, or if you're going to live 10 miles away from the masjid, or even 5 miles away from the masjid, how are you going to come 5 times a day? It's very difficult. Now, a kafir will spend $5 million on a $200,000 house just because it has a view of the ocean. Right? What is real estate? It's location, location, location. Right? My father's a real estate agent. That's why I know that. It's location. It's all about location. It doesn't matter. The house could be a dump. If it's in the right place, the price is going to be extraordinary. If you want to pray 5 times a day in the masjid, obviously you're not going to live 20 miles away from the masjid and do that. If a person is able to, that's wonderful for them, but it's a waste of gas and time, and eventually you're going to wear out of it. Whereas if you live right next to the masjid, even if the place doesn't have the type of paint that you like, or even if the washer and dryer is not like you like, or you have to pay a little bit extra in rent, or you have to pay a little bit extra for a house that's not the same way, but because it's the house of Allah Ta'ala says in his book, doesn't he? Or sorry, Allah Ta'ala says, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I should say, you have to forgive me, we were traveling the whole night. The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Al-Habbul Biladi ilallahi masajiduha, wa abghadul Biladi ilallahi aswaquha, or kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam, that the most beloved places on the earth to Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala are the masajid, and the most hated places on the earth to Allah is what? The marketplaces. So, the masjid, if it's something that Allah Ta'ala loves so much, you know, sure, I'd pay a little bit extra to buy a house there, or I'd pay a little bit extra rent to live there. I mean, you can make these things work for you, but until you make them work for you, how are you going to be able to experience that? As an interesting side note, why is it that Allah Ta'ala made, Allah Ta'ala's Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us that Allah hates the aswaq, the market so much? Like, isn't it strange? Why shouldn't he say like the bank because they eat riba over there? Or why didn't he say that like a place of prostitution or a place where they worship idols? Why did he say the aswaq? Why? Because when a person enters into the masjid, they see the name of Allah written. They see the name of the Prophet ﷺ written in the salat and salam alayhi salatu wasalam. And they see the imam, and they see the children reading Quran and the adults reading Quran. they see the books of hadith, they see all of these things, and it reminds them of Allah. Even if they don't participate in any of them, just the mere sight of it reminds you of Allah. Whereas when you go into the souk, when you go into the marketplace, what do you see? You see people buying and selling things. You see clothes, you see food, you see groceries, you see the latest fashion, the latest electronics, the latest this, that, and the other thing. You see the prices of these things. You see the prices. There's a bank in the mall, so you see the latest prices, the latest mortgage. Maybe there's a kiosk with real estate. You see all the houses, how much they're going for. Oh, they're so cheap now because the market has tanked, and if I save this much, I can buy this type of house bigger than it was before, and blah, blah, blah. You remember all of these things. And dhikr is supposed to be for who? Dhikr is for Allah. Dhikr is not supposed to be for anything else. The heart only has room. Either you can fit Allah in the heart, or you can fit something else. Right? There's no room that the two of them, right? Allah Ta'ala, Hadith Qudsi, Allah Ta'ala says, Ana aghna shuraka'i an shirk. He said that if you try to make me partner with something, right? He said, I don't have any needs for partners. I give my share to the partner. I give it away. So if you try to say in your heart, half of the heart is for the dunya and half of it is for Allah, Allah Ta'ala said, the dunya, you can take this whole heart. I don't need any part of it. So what happens is that you remember all of these things. And when you leave, you think of all of these things. And it distracts you from that remembrance for which you were created. And that's the thing that Allah Ta'ala hates, because it's not a sin outwardly. You could go to the market and buy and sell and do your things. But it's a sin inwardly. It's a sin of a heart, that you allowed it to be distracted from the thing that it was created for. So if you come to the masjid 5 times a day, you don't think the people, you're going to know them, they're going to know you. You don't think that they're going to be able to look at your face and see what your status is. You don't think that see, they don't have to type a status update. By the way, how many people over the age of 40, or how many people here have children, I should say? How many people here have children? How many of those people don't know what Facebook is? Or how many of you think that your children have Facebook pages, but they're very good, mashallah? Right? So some of the things that are references to Facebook, if you don't know about it, we'll find out about it soon enough, inshallah. So you don't need to do a status update. People will see your face and they'll know what your status is when they see you in the masjid. They'll see what your hal is when they see you in the masjid. And if you don't see people on that day, what is the social networking of the Muslims? You'll see them on Jum'ah. Right? So those people who do legitimately, maybe someone has to live 20 miles away because that's the only option there. They don't have the $5 million to buy the house next to the masjid. Or they have to work somewhere else. Allah Ta'ala made the rizq for them somewhere else. They have to work there so they can support their family or whatever. They don't have the option. So at the very least, you'll see them when? You'll see them on the day of Jum'ah. That's the day you'll be able to see what the hal of your community is. That's the day that they make big announcements. That's the day that they put out flyers. That's the day that big things are announced. You'll find out that if somebody is, passed away this week, or if somebody's got married or is getting married, etc., you'll figure out all of these things. And at the very minimum in your community, at least twice in the year, what do you have? You have the Salat al-Eidain, right? The Salat al-Eidain. On the Eid al-Adha and the Eid al-Fitr, when you come, you'll see maybe it's the people from more than just one masjid, right? Because this is sunnah. The sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is what? Is that the Salat of the Eidain, and there's some khilaf about this, but the Salat of the Eidain shouldn't take place inside of the masjid. In fact, it's makruh for it to take place inside of the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ, imagine all of the hadith about the fadail of the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, all of the hadith about the virtues of praying in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, that is so many thousands of times more virtuous than praying in any other masjid. But even that Prophet ﷺ, when it came time for Salatul Eid, he took his Sahaba radiallahu anhum out of the masjid, and they went into the desert. They went into the hadith, they went into the Badi and the Sahara, into the desert, and they used to pray the Salatul Eid outside. Why? Because it's Yawm Mashhood. It's a day that the people should see and witness. It's a day that not only the people, the Muslims, the non-Muslims, the birds, the trees, the animals, the rocks, the stone, everyone should see that day. Everyone should be a witness to that day. And so if you don't see the people in the Salatul Jum'ah, you will have all your small little masajid will close up, and all of the people will come together according to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. All the people will come together in a big place, in an open place, and you will see them and you'll see how they're doing. Somebody, some cousin of yours you didn't see for so long, some friend of yours that you have lost track of, some person that you used to know, go to school with, etc., but they moved to the other side of town. You'll see them on that day. And that's one of the reasons the fuqaha say that the khutbah of Salatul Eid is not as strict as the khutbah of the Salatul Jum'ah. In the sense that if someone says salam to you, you can say wa alaikum salam during the Eid khutbah. If somebody it says, wishes you Eid Mubarak on that day, you can wish it back to them, because you may not see that person until next year. You may not see that person ever again. Obviously, you still have to listen to it. It's still a sunnah to listen to the khatib on the Salatul Eid, and there may be some difference of opinion amongst the ulama about this. But generally speaking, some of the ulama at least have said there's a relaxation in that on that day of Eid, because you may not ever see those people again, or you may not see those people again at least until next year. So how are you supposed to know who was born and who died, who is doing well, who got married, who got divorced, etc., etc., etc.? How are you supposed to know those things if you don't meet those people on that day? That's the social networking of the Muslim. And what is the social networking of the Muslims? At the very least, when a person goes on Hajj, because this happens every now and then. Islam in different localities is practiced differently. And to some degree, that's okay. To some degrees, that's okay, because people, their deen will take on the flavor of the place that they live in, the time that they live in, the circumstances that they live in, the people that are practicing it. But the fundamentals of Islam, the foundations of Islam are all the same, and they never change. They're not dynamic, they're static. They shouldn't say static, they're super dynamic, meaning they are bigger than time and place. The aqidah of the Muslims, the ibadat of the Muslims, these things do not change. These things do not change. We went in, mashallah, so I'm not nitpicking somebody, but we went to there's another masjid across town. We went to visit Dr. Zulfiqar Ali Shah. I have a very big difference of opinion about this with him regarding the whole moon sighting issue and things like that. Because we believe our mashayikh, the thing that our mashayikh taught us is that the aqidah and the ibadat of the Muslims don't change with time and place. They don't change. So the thing regarding the moon sighting, that's why people say, well, how come you go out and see the moon? How come? Because the Prophet ﷺ did it. Are you going to go out and ride a camel because he did also, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And the answer to that is, if riding a camel was an act of worship in our deen, then yes, we would do that. But it's not. However, seeing the moon for the new months, and seeing the moon for Ramadan, etc., and for the Eidain, this is an act of worship. This is something that's considered an act of worship by the ulama. It's something that you receive reward for doing, and because it's an act of worship, we don't allow these things to be changed with time. It's a very simple concept. But what happens, people in different localities will do that. Something will change, something will fidget up a little bit. So when that person goes to Makkah Mukarramah and Medina Munawwara, and that person makes tawaf around the house of Allah Ta'ala, and that person prays with the people praying, if something is weird in his locality, it will get straightened out over there. Just say in Milwaukee, what happened, a very righteous person, he used to have only one leg, and so what happened is that everyone in Milwaukee, out of love of that righteous person, when they pray like this. Out of love, it's a genuine sentiment, somewhat misguided, but genuine sentiment. When they're going to go to the Haram Sharif and you see all this group of people from Milwaukee standing like this with one leg and praying, someone or another, someone from China, someone from Kazakhstan, somebody from Nigeria, somebody from Morocco, somebody from Egypt, someone is going to say, hey brother, what's going on, man? You guys are all standing like a bunch of flamingos. What is this? And they'll say, well, this righteous person, he only had one leg, so out of our love for him, we're going to pray like this. You say, no, you cannot do that. You make dua for that person, you do this, you do that, and they say, no, talk to our imam. So the imam will come, and the imam will talk to the other imam, and they'll convince them. They'll see, people will see that, okay, this is not a right thing, and they'll change it, they'll fix it up. This happens. It happens, wallahi, every year it happens. People come to Hajj, they figure out that, oh my God, this thing I was doing maybe could be readjusted, and they come back and they straighten their deen out. I mean, it happened in the Indian subcontinent also. Before Shah Waliullah, rahimahullah ta'ala, it's like the 1600s, it was very difficult to find anyone who had the sanad to read the Sihah Sitta in the Indian subcontinent. After he came back, he brought the hadith back to the Indian subcontinent. MashaAllah, the study of hadith proliferated, so much so that in the world today, you will probably find no place that has as many. The knowledge is there in different places, but as wide of as wide and as plentiful a set of people who can teach the knowledge of hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in the world today. Why? Because he went to Hajj and he picked up that knowledge and he brought it back and spread it. Allah Ta'ala give all of us tawfiq of visiting his house and for being able to fulfill the farda of Hajj, inshallah, and go again and again. This is social networking of the Muslims. You want to know why the Muslim, because it's funny, when I'm a kid growing up in California, my father tell me about the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Salahuddin Ayyubi and this hero of the Muslims and that hero of the Muslims, and you think, man, why aren't the Muslims on top? You go to Hajj and you'll see the good things about the Ummah and you'll see the bad things about the Ummah. And the good things are bigger and greater than the bad. Don't let anyone ever tell you that these people that kufr are better than the people of Iman. Don't ever let anyone ever say that to you. That is, somebody only would say that who hasn't studied the Aqidah of the Muslims. And don't let anyone say to you that the people in so-and-so non-Muslim country are practicing Islam better than the people in so-and-so Muslim country. Because look, they have clean streets and they have wonderful order, and people know how to stand in line, and people are polite to one another, etc., etc. Because that's not what Islam is. What is Islam? Worshipping no one except for Allah and accepting His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's what Islam is. That's the miftah. It's the key to entering Jannah. A person who is a kafir who stands in line straight and keeps clean streets and there's order and respect, etc., etc. All of those things, what do they do it for? They do it for reciprocation, for reciprocity. That if I'm good to another person, they'll be good to me and we'll live a good life. Whereas when a Muslim does it, he does it only for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. He doesn't do it for out of expectation of reward from somebody else. And what is the first hadith of Bukhari? إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. That the a'mal are nothing except for based on their intentions. So they can do the best of a'mal, but since they don't have the niyyah for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, it's not acceptable to Him. Jalla wa ala. And the Muslims can be what they are, but as long as their niyyah is for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, Allah Ta'ala has given them higher maqam. And let me get this straight. It's not like the ummah is horrible. You go on Hajj, you'll see amazing things. You'll see amazing people. You'll see the love of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala radiating out of their faces and out of their hearts when you see them praying and making tawaf. Sometimes the love of Allah Ta'ala is irrational in such people. They have simple people from villages or from places, they're not even very educated in the Sharia or anything. And so you see the way they're even screwing up their tawaf and they're screwing up their practices, but you see the love, it's genuinely there. And you'll see people sacrificing for one another. You'll see someone giving his food to another person. You'll see a person carrying another person on their back or giving their things to other people, giving their money to other people. You'll see all of these wonderful things. And you'll also see people are stealing from each other. People are cutting each other in line. People are arguing with each other. People are throwing garbage on the streets of the sacred city of Makkah Mukarramah and the sacred city of Medina Munawwara. You'll see all of those things happening also. You'll see all of those things. So you'll say, okay, I kind of understand. We have this Islam thing is great and it's a wonderful thing and it's still going. The grace and the barakah of Allah Ta'ala are still descending on it. But there are some issues. We kind of understand what the issues are. That way you can think about them and develop a solution of how to tackle these issues and start doing the work of how to tackle these issues. You'll have that understanding what the status of the entire ummah is. And you'll see that, mashallah, this Islam is the same Islam from China all the way to Morocco and everything north, south, east, west, in between it and outside of it. That's the social networking of Islam. Imagine this Hajj. There is the books. If you go into the library of one of the mashayikh, you'll see there are rooms like this that are full of books and 50 of them like them. And if you ask the alim who has such a huge library, what is your one dream? He'll say, there's so-and-so manuscript in this place. I wish I could have so-and-so. Where are these books filled from? There is a muhaddith. His name is Abu Umar Yusuf ibn Abdul Barr. Ibn Abdul Barr, they used to call him the Hafiz al-Maghrib. Not because he memorized the Quran. MashaAllah, we have some Hufaz over here. In the old days, Hafiz doesn't mean you memorize Quran. Everyone had memorized Quran. In the old days, Hafiz means you memorize more than 100,000 hadiths, anecdotally at least, more than 100,000 hadiths, both the text of the hadith and the chain of narration of the hadith. So Hafiz ibn Abdul Barr, they used to call him Hafiz al-Maghrib. That out of all the Hufaz in the western lands of the Muslim, of Dar al-Islam, of the Muslim homeland, he was the greatest Hafiz of them all. He lived around 600 years after the Prophet ﷺ. 400 to 600 years, I forget. Maybe it's 400 years after the Prophet ﷺ. And he never left the Iberian Peninsula ever. Iberian Peninsula, like Spain and Portugal, he never left the Iberian Peninsula ever. He became such a renowned alim. He knew what the ulama in Baghdad were talking about. He knew what the ulama in Cairo were talking about. He knew what the ulama in Hijaz and Makkah Mukarramah and Medina Munawwara were talking about. He knew what the current trends in ilm were all over the Dar al-Islam. He never left the Iberian Peninsula ever. The Iberian Peninsula was like a backwoods. I mean, he's living in Milwaukee. He was writing books. What other Hanafi did he ever meet? What Shafi'i did he ever meet? What Hanbali did he ever meet? In those days, there was only Malikis in the Iberian Peninsula. If you go to West Africa to this day, right, the people follow the madhab of Imam Malik. If you go to Mauritania to this day, the simpletons that are unlettered, they think that if you don't stand and pray with your hands at your side, if you tie your hands, if you don't stand with your hands at your side, if you tie your hands, the prayer may be invalid because they've never seen anyone do it before. You guys will say that's silly. Nobody, no person, no rightly guided person prays with his hands. Well, guess what? They do over there, and they're mashallah, they're Sunni people, mashallah. They're people of rightly guided mashayikh. But those are people that they're in the backwoods of whatever. How is he able to do that? How is he able to respond to the writings of other ulama who are his contemporaries? Because people would go to Hajj and they would come back. They would go to Hajj and they would come back. They would bring books with them and come back, right? What kind of social networking is that? Imagine, how many people in Milwaukee are hafiz of hadith? How many people in Milwaukee are hafiz of hadith? No, Qari Sahib is hafiz of Quran, he did qira'at, but he's not a hafiz of hadith, right? He didn't memorize more than 100,000 hadiths in Arabic, but the text and the chain of narration. I'm pretty sure. So, what did Hafiz ibn Abdul Barr? What did he have, a cell phone, or did he have internet? Did he used to send somebody an email? Did he read people's books on PDF? Did he have a tape recorder that he used to listen to lectures? No. Remember what we said in the beginning. The thing that's put forward by Islam, it's simple and it has barakah in it. It's simple and it has barakah in it. That those people coming and going because of the Hajj, because of the social networking of Islam, it literally connected like the intellectual lifelines of the ummah from one part to the other part of the ummah in a way that the modern technology is unable to do. So brothers and sisters, that's the social networking of Islam. As for the social networking that's present nowadays, I wish to say 2 comments, inshallah, before closing because the talk has already become long. Yeah, we can have a question and answer or something like that, inshallah. One is this. There's something on Facebook they call friends, right? They call friends. And there's something in real life that we call friends. Anyone who thinks that the friend in the Facebook context is the same as the friend in real life, that person, requires a little bit of growing up, a little bit of seeing the world. There's a great difference, right? So we say this even in studying the deen, that certain things have ma'ani lughawiyya and certain things have ma'ani istilahiyya, right? Ma'na lughawi is what? The linguistical meaning of something. The linguistical meaning of something. If you look for the word gay, it means in the dictionary, probably the first meaning is going to be happy. That's the linguistical meaning of the word gay. If you say to someone, hey, that looks really gay, what do you think they're going to think? In a specific context, it means something totally different. In this case, the context being public school, which all of us unfortunately went to, or most of us at any rate, right? It means something totally different in a different context. The word friend has one meaning in the dictionary, and the word friend has a very different meaning in Facebook. There's a very different meaning in Facebook. The word friend in real life is somebody who loves you and who you love more than you love yourself. At least you love them as much as you love yourself. This is the friendship. This is the friendship of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, that they loved each other more than they loved themselves by the testimony of Allah in the Quran, right? وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةً. That the Ansar radiallahu anhum, that they preferred others over themselves, even though their lot was destructively harsh poverty, horrible poverty that people die from. They were in such poverty, such dire straits, but still they used to prefer the Muslims, the Muhajirin, over themselves. Right? This is the type of love that people had in the old days. When people talk about love and true love and falling in love and things like that, that's the things that they're talking about. That's the things that people used to write poetry and songs about in the old days. People have become so self-centered. وَلِلَّهِ الْمُشْتَقَى. The people have become so ilallah al-mushtaka. People, the complaint is only to Allah. Myself, astaghfirullah. People have become so self-centered that they're not even able to fall in love like they did in the old days anymore, where a person would love someone more than they love themselves. They don't even know what that is anymore. They just have a shahwa and it's gone after a week, it's gone after a day, it's gone after an hour, Allahu alam what. The shahwa is gone, khalas, there's no love. What they thought was love, absolutely it's dead, it's gone. People only keep what are quote-unquote friends with each other just because they think they can benefit from the person. A real friend is someone who you love so much that even if that person became a burden on you, for all of the days of your life, you would still keep helping that person out just because you love that person. just because you love that person. And friendship, real friendship is what? It's for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? There's the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam narrated by Sayyidina Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu. ثَلَاثٌ مَنْ كُنَّ فِيهِ وَجَدَ بِهِنَّ حَلَاوَةَ الْإِيمَانِ. There's three characteristics. If they're in a person, that person will taste the sweetness of Iman. One of them is الرَّجُلُ يُحِبُّ أَخِيهِ لَا يُحِبُّهُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ. Or كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. I don't remember the exact wording, but a man who loves another for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he doesn't love him except for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because the thing, again, we said that the thing that's for the sake of Allah, it will last forever. Whereas relationships, friendships, whatever, they may be true, but if they're only in the dunya, they're not for the sake of Allah, they die the day you die. Whereas those things that are there for the sake of Allah, they will last forever. They'll also be there in Jannah also. They'll also be there in Jannah also. So a true friend is somebody you love for the sake of Allah. But even if you don't know that, a friend, at least even a kafir will admit that a friend is somebody you love more than you love yourself. And you're not there just to get something out of it. You're not there to just get some benefit out of it. That the day that that person stopped benefiting you, you would still be there for that person. That's what a real friend is. Some people may only have two friends. Some people may only have one friend. Most people don't even have one friend. Most people don't even love their, nowadays stuff for a lot of people don't even love their parents like that or their brothers and sisters like that anymore. Even their children they don't love like that anymore. How are they going to have a friend that they love like that anymore? And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves that a brother loves another brother for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There will be people on the Yawm al-Qiyamah, they will enter Jannah. Just because Allah ta'ala will say in the dunya, the two of you loved each other for my sake so much, that just because I'm so happy with that, you come and you enter into Jannah. There's a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that there's a person from a ummah before us, that he went to visit a friend of his in another village. And so Allah Ta'ala sent an angel to kind of creep up on him on the way, just kind of catch him off guard. And so the angel comes out and says, "Where are you going?" He says, "I'm going to so-and-so village to visit so-and-so." He said, "Is there any reason you're going to visit them? Like, does he owe you money, or does somehow you owe him money, or is there some business you're going to do with him? Is there some reason you're going to visit him?" He says, "No, I'm only going to visit him because I love him for the sake of Allah." That angel was commanded by Allah to give that person the glad tidings, Ruz Mubashir, right? Right? The good glad tidings, the good news, right? The bushra, that Allah Ta'ala loves you, that Allah for whose sake you love that person, that Allah Ta'ala loves you also. Right? It's a good deed. Nobody's asking you, well, they may ask you later, but right now I'm not asking you to donate money to the masjid. I'm not asking you to, like do work or come to a class or fast or pray or anything. What? Just love one another for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even that will enter a person into Jannah. That's what a real friend is. A friend in Facebook is somebody who makes a click and they end up in a list on your Facebook page, and then people they make tafakhur with one another. They boast that I have so many friends, I have so many friends, I have 100. Who here has more than 100 friends on your Facebook page? Anyone? MashaAllah. How many you have? 250 here. Anyone more than 1,000?
No, not over 1,000.
Not over 1,000? Oh man, really? MashaAllah. Oh man, not over 1,000? SubhanAllah, all Seattle kids have like, these guys have 1,500 and 2,000 friends on your Facebook page. I'm going to tell them they're going to laugh at you, I guess. But, right? But do you actually think 250 people are friends with you? You want to see if those 250 people are friends with you? Email I'm sure yours are friends with you. I'm not trying to pick on you. But like a person, right? Email every one of those people, message every one of those people and say, "Hey, I need to borrow like $20. See how many of those friends are left afterward. Forget about how many people actually loan you the $20. Forget about that. That's a whole other scenario. That's a whole other problem. See how many of those people will actually be friends with you after that sincere appeal for Andrew Jackson $20 bill. You'll be left with like 2 or 3, if any at all. Even those guys probably just didn't check their page, and so once they check it, they'll delete you tomorrow, you know? So there's a big difference between the two. We'll have question answer at the end. MashaAllah, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Right? So imagine what the difference is. Now the problem is, okay, most of us are mature enough and old enough and smart enough to know that there is no difference. But the sad part is there's actually people who have conflated one for the other. And they think the number of friends, there's some sort of connection. There's no connection between them at all. There's a perceived and imaginary connection between them, but there's no real connection. One of the wonderful things about Islam is that Islam pushes people toward reality. One of the things about kufr, the things about the nature of kufr teaches you what? That ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss. Islam teaches you that no, knowledge is always superior to ignorance. Right? Knowledge is a sifa of the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam. Those who are highest in maqam and most close to Allah Ta'ala. And the philosophy of kufr teaches you that ignorance is bliss. It's better that you not know what the truth is. And Islam gives you real things, whereas kufr offers you fake things. What is an example? An example is insurance. Insurance in the Sharia is haram. It's haram to have insurance. Why? Because one of the simple, and it seems so stupid, a person will hit his head against the wall when he sees how simple it is. But one of the principles in the law of trade of Sharia is that when you buy something and sell something, the thing that you're buying has to be known, and the thing that you're giving in return for it has to be known. So I can sell a box of tissues with 250 tissues in it for $1.50. Why? Because $1.50 is known, and the box, the tissues, the quality of the tissues, the number of the tissues is also known. I cannot sell you, for example, though this is just a box, I cannot say $20 for whatever's in the box. Well, what's in it? It might be this, it might be that. Haram, totally haram. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. You think it's silly and stupid and you're laughing about it. Why do you think we have a recession right now? Why do you think we're on the brink of depression? There's no recovery. Right? This is a jobless recovery. It's because people on Wall Street were basically doing that. Except for here, at least you get the dang box with it. Over there, it was just an electronic transaction. You didn't even get a box with it. They were just ripping you off. And people were dumb enough to buy those things. Because what happens, they say, well, I know there's nothing in the box. But what's going to happen is I'll buy the box for $5, and tomorrow someone will buy it from me for $10. So I don't care, I'm just going to make the money. Well, guess what? One day someone is like, you know what? I just paid $1,000 for this box, and it's all it has is tissues in it. You know what I mean? And then that's when the depression and the crash starts. Whereas Islam prohibits such transactions. They say Islam is a very primitive financial system. It can't survive in the modern world. No, actually it can survive in the modern world. In fact, it's the only thing that's surviving in the modern world right now. Right? Why? Because Islam teaches you to value and respect real things. And kufr teaches you to value and respect perceived and emotional things. So those people in Facebook are not your friends. Those people are not your friends. Those people are people you think may be your friend if you ask them, but they're not your friends. You have the possibility of talking to them, but they're not your friend. But what we're saying about insurance, right? Insurance is the same thing. The reason insurance is haram, obviously the state makes you have car insurance, so it's still haram, but because they're forcing you to do it, the sin goes on them, not on you. So these are masail you can ask from your imam and sheikh. But why is insurance haram? Because you pay a known quantity every month for your insurance premium, but you don't know at the end if they're going to give you anything back. It might be more than you paid them. It might be less than you paid them. Now, the interesting thing is that you know they're going to make money off of you. Insurance companies always make money off of you. They are not here for your benefit. They are not here because they have a genuine wish and desire to see your business succeed. They are not here because they actually want to protect you when something bad happens. They know that they charge you for the protection, and they know probably nothing is going to happen to your stuff. In fact, not only is nothing probably going to happen to your stuff, if something does happen to your stuff, they're going to screw you over anyway. They are not going to give you a cent that they don't have to. So many people I know have insurance. So many people I know that have had insurance. Their house burned down. They didn't give them a cent. They said, oh, this technicality. It said in a contract that every third Tuesday of September we don't insure it. I'm sorry. You look, oh man, it actually says that in the contract. How do these people get away with these types of things? Well, they're not going to. You're right. They're not going to. So what are you buying from them? You're not actually buying any protection. What are you buying? Because you know they're going to make money off of you in the end. You know they're going to make money off of you in the end. That's the only reason they're making money, that they're still around, is that they are statistically, anyone who's taken math knows that they are going to end up making money off of you in the end. The chances that you'll make money off of them are exceedingly slim. It's a bad bet. It's a bad gamble. You know that because all of you have taken addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. You know that much. Why do people buy it? Everyone. Kafirs know it also. Everybody. Why do the people buy it? Because they're just buying the peace of mind. They're buying the feeling that, oh, I'm covered in case something happens, even though you know you're not. Even though you know probably nothing is going to happen, and B, even if something does happen, you know they're probably going to end up screwing you over anyway. But what are you buying? You're buying that fake feeling of comfort, that fake feeling of coziness. And what happens is going to happen anyway. It's the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which one of you is going to stand in the way and say, no fire, no earthquake can touch my house? The angel of death, stay outside. None of you are able to do that. None of us are able to do that. It's absolutely impossible. It's ridiculous that a person would be so arrogant to think that they could do such a thing. What are you buying? You're buying that false feeling. What does Islam tell you? It says that you know the feeling is false anyway. Put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, save your money. Put your trust in Allah ta'ala, save your money, don't mess with each other. Don't cheat one another. Right? Right? That wail, destruction be to the people who stint one another. That when it's time for them to get their premiums, they ask for every single cent. But when it's time for them to dish out what they're supposed to give to the people, right? Yukhsirun, they always give people at a loss. Don't they know that they're going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a great day? Right? Don't they know that they're going to stand in front of Allah ta'ala? So we know that that's going to happen anyway. So we say, you know what? You keep your false feelings of security. My security and my insurance is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what's going to happen is going to happen anyway. If I'm going to lose everything anyway, I'm going to lose it anyway. There's nothing that you can do to stop it anyway. So my insurance is with Allah. It's the same thing. This is an idea. This is a common thread I want you to, it transcends what today's topic is. Right? It's a foundation that Islam is built on. That we value real things. We don't value the perception of something. It's meaningless to us. We value only things that are real. So one friend is a real friend. That's the friend that's useful and is worth keeping. Right? The other friend is a fake friend. Right? Another example of what is a real friend. One of the imams of the masjid I used to go to when I was in school, middle school, high school, he's Bosnian origin, and he told me a story. He said that one of the mashayikh in Bosnia, in my father's generation, he said when he was a child, when he was like in high school or whatever, he used to have a good, mashallah, 8, 9, 10 friends that he used to hang out with all the time. Always hang out with them. So one day his father says to him, he says that these people you're hanging out with, these people are all a waste of your time. Don't waste your time hanging out with them. Get some real friends and do something with your life. He says, no, Baba, they're my friends. I'd do anything for them. They would do anything for me. I would never leave them. He says, okay, you want to see if they're your real friends or not? Go slaughter a sheep and then put a shirt in the blood of the sheep and then take the shirt to someone and say, I murdered someone. Can you help me bury the body? See if anyone's going to help you. So he took him to one friend. By the way, if you guys show up at my house with this, I'm going to call the cops. It's a story at the end of the day, right? It's just a story, okay? So try to get the lesson. Don't take it too far. So he goes, So he took the first friend. He's like, I don't know about this, man. You know, I'll see you later. I have nothing to do with it. Second friend, third. One by one, none of them helped him out. So the kid said in frustration to his Baba, he says, Baba, you know, you only have 2 friends or 1 friend. Your friends would do the same to you. He says, okay, let's go see. So he takes it to his friend and says, can you help me bury the body? And so the friend says, hold on a second. He goes inside the house and he comes back out with a shovel. Right? That shovel, dude, even though he needs to get checked by a psychiatrist, but that's actually your friend. You know, remember we said even if a person is sick, if they're your friend, they're your friend, right? That person is actually your friend. When we even think about it, we joke about it that guy screwed up. But like that's what a real friend actually is. The second thing I wanted to say about Facebook is the idea of ma'ruf and munkar, right? It says in the Quran again and again, right, that you should command to, al-amr bil ma'ruf ta'muruna bil ma'rufi wa tanhawna 'anil munkar, that you will command to that which is right and you will forbid to that which is wrong. The definition of ma'ruf in Arabic, strictly speaking, is not right. The definition of ma'ruf is what? It's known, something that's known. Arafa ya'rifu means to know something. Ma'ruf is ism maf'ul. It's the thing that is known. Meaning the thing that everybody knows is good and everyone agrees that is good, that's what ma'ruf is. That's the type of conduct that we're supposed to command to. Universal values. Universally accepted values. Universally accepted morals and ethics. And what is munkar? Munkar doesn't mean evil, right? Forbidding what is evil. That you forbid that which is evil. Munkar means something that is unknown, something that nobody recognizes, nobody recognizes as a good thing. So, for example, right, you have in Arabic, when you learn Arabic grammar, Right? The alif lam is the alif lam ta'rif. So you say al-kitab meaning the book. You know which book you're talking about. Whereas if it's just kitabun without the al on it, it's nakira. It's something that's unknown. Which book are we talking about here? So you command to that which is known and you forbid that which is unknown to the people to be anything of value, of usefulness. A place where a person is going to be ma'ruf is a place where a person is going to do good deeds, and a place where a person is going to be munkar, unknown, is a place that they're going to do bad deeds. If a man, a'udhu billah, may Allah ta'ala be all of our protection and the protection of all of our brothers and sisters and youth, if a person wants to commit zina, where is he going to do it? Is he going to do it in a hotel, or is he going to do it in his home where his wife is next door and his children are sleeping and his parents live, are sleeping across the hall or whatever? Chances are that that person will go to the place where nobody knows who he is. If he even sees that this person is with an unrelated woman, no one will ask. You don't ask, I don't ask. Don't ask, don't tell. Everything will be just hush hush. Nobody knows one another. Nobody cares. Right? You don't bother me. I don't bother you. You mind your business. I'm going to mind my business. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, etc., etc. That's where it's going to happen. Whereas if you go to you want to take your girlfriend out to dinner, are you going to go to the restaurant right next to the masjid? No, because all your Muslim friends are going to be there. Obviously, you're going to get caught. The uncles are going to be saying, who is this? This doesn't look like her. And that she's my cousin excuse is not going to work anymore because they know who your cousins are also, right? Well, it's not going to work because people know you. You wouldn't do it. Think about what if a person is in a village that they grew up in, and their father lived in, and their grandfather lived in, their family has been in for 700 years. People are like that. Damascus is the oldest continuously populated city in the entire world known to man. And it's a city filled with mostly Muslims, right? Imagine if you're in the same neighborhood and you're all the people in the village or all the people in the neighborhood are your cousins, uncles. Half of them are related to you by blood. The other half are probably related to you by marriage. Are you going to, if someone cuts you off on the street, are you going to be able to roll down the window and curse at the person? Obviously not. Even if the person deserved it and had it coming. Because that person knows who your parents are. That person knows where you live. That person is related to you somehow. They're going to tell somebody, that person's going to tell your father, you're going to get in trouble. Why? Because you all know each other. So you keep things civil. You forgive people and you keep things civil. And also, that guy invited you to their house like last week anyway. So you had a barbecue, it tasted good. You're like, you know what, this guy's a good guy. He's probably having a bad day. I'll forgive him. Or even if he's a jerk, his brother's my friend, so I'll forgive. Something or another, you'll find some way to straighten this situation out. Whereas if it's somewhere like one of these bizarre mega cities like New York or like Cairo or Karachi or whatever, where nobody knows anybody and people keep to themselves, what's more likely to happen? Yell and scream, curse at one another, do all of these things. They do that. New York, man, people are literally getting mugged and killed. So old lady is getting mugged at knife point. Someone's taking her purse from her. People will just keep walking. They do like these tests and studies. People are being murdered. People just keep walking. They don't care. Which place is the ma'ruf going to happen in? It's where you're ma'ruf. The good is going to happen in the place where you know people, the people know you. And the munkar is going to happen where you don't know the people and the people don't know you. Now, when you have the Facebook page, do you have any idea who's sitting on the other side of the portal? If the girl you're talking to is actually even a woman, if the boy you're talking to is actually even a boy or a Muslim or just some, whatever, you have no idea who the person is. If you've never seen the person before, you have no idea who the person is. Even if you know the person and have seen them at school, the image that they put up for themselves is not who they actually are, it's who they want you to see them as. That Facebook page is not a place to make friends with people. It's not a place to find that type of social networking. That type of social networking, where are you going to get it? Like we said before, Islam has its own social networking. It's simple and there's barakah in it. It's free. It's going to give you good in this world and the akhirah, and it's not going to put you into the weird pitfalls that the social networking of the internet is going to. What is Facebook? And so am I saying is Facebook absolutely haram and Twitter is haram? You can't use any of these things? No, that's fine. If you have cousins that live in like some strange country, stand in the back of the atlas somewhere, and it costs like 30 cents to call them, which happens. It's probably true for more than half the people in the building, including myself, right? It costs so much money to call them, and they may not have a phone line or whatever. So have a Facebook page, communicate with them through it. You have friends, it's difficult to, you have a business that you're trying to promote your business through it. But for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're not going to find any friends in that. You're not going to, find your future wife through that. You're not going to find any of these things through that. If you look for it, what's going to end up happening is that out of every one person who will take something good out of it, the 99 people are going to get bitten by the snake of it and only find out later on after much trouble and duress and embarrassment and problem. Why? Because Allah Ta'ala gave you something, the Prophet ﷺ gave you something that was through the sunnah, something that was tayyib and something that was pure, that had barakah in it. If you choose that, you'll have a happy life. And if you forego that for something else, it's like the saying of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, that we're a people. Allah Ta'ala honored us through Islam. Allah Ta'ala honored, look at it, right? Our forefathers were idol worshippers, a'udhu billah. Right? So obviously, right, but my forefathers were idol worshippers. Some people's forefathers were doing this, some people's forefathers were doing that, some people, they're burying their infant children alive. Some people in their jahiliyyah, ask somebody who's converted into Islam to tell you about jahiliyyah. They'll tell you about the jahiliyyah. People are still living it right now. We are a group of people, Allah Ta'ala gave us izzah, Allah Ta'ala gave us dignity through Islam. And if we seek dignity through anything other than it, Allah Ta'ala will humiliate us. Allah Ta'ala will humiliate us. May Allah Ta'ala be our protection from that. May Allah Ta'ala give us the tawfiq to returning to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and returning to deen. Wa sallallahu tabaraka wa ta'ala wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam ajma'in.